All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good
Wow.
evening.
It's a time for another show. How exciting. We have an awesome show for you tonight. Do I say that each time? I feel like I say that each time, but I'm biased, right? But definitely excited about this show. Thank you for joining the Shifting to Mindset show, live show. I thank the Father for giving us this. And what a great topic tonight. Wow. Suffering in silence. Woo!
Mm.
That's so in depth all by itself. And the Father had put this woman of God in my spirit, Janie. Oh my goodness. I'm just glad that you are here with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Janie is, as you see her sign behind her, she deals with domestic violence. She also has launched a victory coaching. She's the founder of Angels in Distress. She's a minister. I'm just adding some other things. Prayer warrior. I know, right? That wasn't on the paper, but some things we just know by the spirit.
Oh God.
So definitely, thank you so much for joining. And if you would be kind, just to give us some opening words, and then we're going to dive into this topic.
First of all, thank you, woman of God, for this invitation, this opportunity to be on your show. I want to make sure that people understand how we connected. I remember coming across one of your videos one day, and I thought, who is this woman? Who is she? And I began to follow you, and you've just been a blessing to me. And that's been what, since last year, I think I first started following you, or the year before. And
A little
it's
bit.
amazing how God will get a word to you by any means necessary. And sometimes it seemed as though you were given a word specifically for me at that
Oh, wow.
appointed time,
Oh,
and
wow.
I've had to reach out and say, oh my God, I thank God for you coming forth and sharing that word because it was in place for me to keep going.
Hmm.
Um, if I am able to share any words to your listeners, I'm honored to be here with you, and I'm humbled. I want to share some words from a poem
All right.
that God gave me at 1:20 a.m. on April the 28th in 2015 when I was writing my book, The Metamorphosis of Caterpillar, All Butterflies Aren't Free. But this
Hmm.
poem is entitled Tears Flowing, but It Doesn't Hurt Now.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Woman of God, can we bring the poem a little bit later?
Sure,
Okay.
sure. Okay, so
Because I feel I just the title alone makes me want to holler, but I'm like, yes,
okay, okay.
the
Well,
tears are flowing.
I can
But
shift.
okay,
I can
I kind
shift.
of I kind of want to get a little more. I want to start us into the topic.
Okay.
And I feel like I want a few more people to join, give people time to get connected. I know it takes a little moment. I do have some people out there that are tagging and sharing this. So, people are connecting and getting on.
Okay.
And I want to make sure we have the broadest audience possible to hear
Amen.
this poem because
Amen.
it's definitely needed. Okay. Thank you
All
so much.
right.
Thank you
No
so much.
worries.
All
No
right.
worries.
So, this evening, you all, we are talking about suffering in silence. Wow. Suffering in silence. And, I first have to just raise my hand because that was me at one point. I, at one time, suffered in silence. And I feel like, I won't say everybody has suffered in silence, but there's there's different areas and aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm just going to allow Janie to just flow uh, as as you see fit. Let's get into this topic: suffering in silence.
Amen. And that is such a powerful, powerful statement. And the interesting thing that I noticed about it, Dr. LaShawn, when I saw that it spells out sis, and I thought about how many sisters we know who are suffering in silence. Not that we negate the fact that men are suffering, but sisters have this way of feeling that they have to suffer in silence because the things that they may be suffering from are embarrassing to them. Shame is attached to it, guilt is
Mm-hmm.
attached to it. So I thought it was interesting that it spelled out sis. And
Yes. Wow.
a lot of time, and see, God speaks to me in acronyms. He speaks to
Okay.
me in specific words.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about suffering,
Mm-hmm.
it may be from heartbreak,
Yes.
it may be from disappointments, it
Mm-hmm.
may be from abuse, it may be
Mm-hmm.
from neglect, it may be
Yes.
from betrayal,
Come
it
on.
may be from just life hitting us with
Mm-hmm.
circumstances. uh, I think about how we as women, we as sisters, we
Mm-hmm.
like to make things look good. We like to make things look like they're all right. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we do naturally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we're walking, talking, pain carriers, suffering, and not wanting people to know that we're suffering. But
Mm-hmm.
here is something that I found in working with survivors of domestic violence. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
survivor myself. Is that the
Mm-hmm.
more we talk about it, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is that we're suffering with, the more power we take away from it.
Yes.
Because the more you hold it, the
Mm-hmm.
more it grips you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about it, no matter how
Mm-hmm.
small, no matter how much, it
Mm-hmm.
releases as you release. And as you
Yeah.
talk, it frees you. My hands are free now, they aren't
Mm-hmm.
fisted, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And we must understand the importance of finding you someone to talk to.
Yes.
Now, I know there may be some of you who may have confided in someone and they may have betrayed you in some way. But
Mm-hmm.
find you someone that you can talk to and be totally vulnerable, totally transparent.
Yes.
Because, sometimes we like to tell a little bit,
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I've come to understand the power of telling it. Tell it. Tell
Yes.
it all.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is sometimes a caution that I offer regarding telling. If you've got children who are involved in some things, you have to seek wisdom in how much to share in that to not,
Yes.
affect the children in a negative way, particularly if they're small and they have to grow up one day and find out these things. And
Mm-hmm.
when we're sharing with someone, make sure that you have accurate information about you. He'll tell you who, and he'll definitely tell you who not to. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if any of you have had the experience of beginning to tell somebody some things and you just get cut off. I know I have. I've experienced. He'll just stop me mid sentence. And I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're not the right person to hear this.
Uh-huh.
but you do not have to suffer in silence. You do not have
Right.
to suffer alone.
Mm-hmm.
You are
That's
not
right.
in a barren land.
That's right.
9 times out of 10, the sisters who are around you
Mm-hmm.
are having some of the same suffering.
Yes.
And you would be support to someone if you just spoke and said something.
Mm-hmm. This is true,
And when
Janie.
we begin
I've.
to speak,
Mm-hmm.
our words have power, our words have strength, our words have healing. And when we speak, it goes out to shift not only our mindsets, but our
Yeah.
atmospheres.
Yes.
But you got to go back, and I don't want to sound like the preacher, because I'm not a preacher, I'm not a Bible scholar. But speak those things that aren't as though they are.
Mm-hmm.
Speak your words, tell your
Yes.
truth.
Mm-hmm.
I think about some of the incredible women who have spoken their truth that were
Mm-hmm.
ugly truths. They were
Mm-hmm.
hard truths.
Mm-hmm.
I adore and honor Maya Angelou.
Mm-hmm.
I adore and honor Oprah Winfrey. Those women went through some terrible, tumultuous things.
Yes.
But think about how many people have been blessed by them sharing
Mm-hmm.
those words,
Yes.
because it gave a door opening to everybody else who may have been suffering in silence to come forth and say something.
Mm-hmm. And that's the key. You really brought out some great
Can't hear
points.
you. I can't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me? You brought out some great points, and how we need to just the different areas of domestic violence, and not domestic violence only, but the different areas in which we suffer and what keeps us silent, why we are silent about it. No one will understand, or it's too tough to tell, or
Mm.
I can't share my story because um, I'm a leader in the ministry and everybody's looking upon me. I started to say pastor's wife, but um, you
Yes,
know what?
pastor's wife.
But whatever the role is, um, suffering in silence and finding that confidant that you can entrust in. Definitely, I found for my own self at one time I was suffering in silence, and I regained my voice and began to speak. And when I did, it was a healing. It took a minute, but then once I did, and once I gained that trust and began to speak, and I was like, oh my goodness. And then it was like, from then on it rolled out. It was like, wow, wow. But
And that's
through
the
that,
power in it.
yes, and through it, God has helped me to help others, to say,
Absolutely.
hey, you can come through this. It's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how many pastor wives have shown up on Sunday morning, first lady hat and all,
Mm-hmm.
and right before she walked in the church, in the parking lot in the car, she was probably slapped or pinched,
Mm-hmm.
and sitting in the church
Mm-hmm.
trying to be that calm, peaceful first lady, and was
Mm-hmm.
abused before she came in. Now, let me
Mm-hmm.
flip that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Pastors, men who are powerful,
Mm-hmm.
sitting in the parking lot right before they come into church, and the wife has slapped them
Mm-hmm.
or knocked them around in the car before they came in church, before they would give a powerful, powerful sermon
Mm-hmm.
later. We got
Mhm.
to understand that abuse is demonic.
Yes.
It is a demon, it is demonic, and it comes to steal, kill,
Mhm.
and destroy.
Mhm.
It wants to steal your joy, it wants to kill your spirit,
Mhm.
and it wants to destroy your purpose.
Yes.
And what
Mhm.
I have found with a lot of people who have survived domestic abuse or domestic violence, they have a message, they
Mhm.
have a power, they have
Yes.
a sense about them that they know that there's something that they're supposed to be doing, but
Mhm.
this demon has been assigned to hold them back.
Mhm.
Everyone that I have spoken to, men too, it's the same thing.
Mhm.
But what's been amazing to me is that mainstream, and I used to partner with a couple of mainstream organizations,
Mhm.
and they said to me that I couldn't talk about Jesus or God
Mhm.
when I was volunteering.
Mhm.
And although they said that I was perfect as a volunteer, that I
Mhm.
would not be able to say those words. I would
Mhm.
not be able to give God the glory of my story.
Mhm.
And I said to one of the directors, I'm sorry, I'm not the right one. Because
Mhm.
if I can't tell my story the way that it actually happened, then I
Mhm.
would be taking my praise away from the God who saved me. So I
Mhm.
can't do it that way. But
Mhm.
I often find that the people who are attacked,
Mhm. Mhm.
seemingly, now I haven't spoken to everybody, but they had an assignment assigned to their
Mhm.
lives.
Mhm.
And it made all the sense in the world to me when God gave me the revelation that it was demonic. And the
Yes.
strong man is the spirit of Jezebel. You know,
Mhm.
they taught us way back when I was little in Kojic church, it was about a red dress and lipstick. That's a lie.
Yes.
The
Right.
the the Jezebel spirit has nothing to do with a red dress and lipstick. It has to do with manipulation, lies,
Earrings.
deceit, power, and control. That's the
Yes.
strong man under domestic abuse and domestic violence. And it just amazes me how when God revealed those things to me, it made so much more sense to me. Uh,
Mhm.
when people would tell me, well, he didn't look like himself. She didn't look like herself. She changed. Yeah,
Mhm.
that demon showed itself
Mhm.
to you, you know?
Mhm.
But here again,
Mhm.
you are
Mhm.
not to be the one to suffer in that. You are
Right.
not to be the one who will be called crazy because you share that they didn't look like themselves. I
Mhm.
understand it. I totally get it.
Mhm.
I know what you saw and I know what you're seeing.
Yes.
And it is a spirit.
Mhm.
And the way we will have to deal with this is in the spirit.
Yes. That right
You
there.
can't deal with it with a carnal mindset because it's
Mm-mm.
not carnal, it is
No.
a spirit.
Mhm.
And
It
you
is.
wonder, I'm sorry,
I was just saying, yep, it is.
I wonder sometimes, when people outside with a carnal mindset will say to
Mhm.
someone, well, why don't you just leave? It's not that simple. Domestic
Mhm.
abuse and domestic violence is very complex and it has a lot of layers.
Mhm.
It's like an onion. And the closer you get to the core of an onion, sometimes the meat of it is thicker.
Yes.
And that just shows how deep rooted domestic abuse and domestic violence is. It's a
Mhm.
deep thing. It's a
Mhm.
spirit that intertwines and takes over your whole life. It
Mhm.
affects everything that you're connected with. It
Yes.
threatens to destroy your children. It threatens to destroy you. It
Mhm.
threatens to destroy family members. It
Mhm.
threatens to destroy friends.
Yes.
So it affects everything. It is not
Mm-hmm.
just in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And with this pandemic, the numbers are exponential now.
Yes. Oh, I was hoping we would get to that part.
Oh, absolutely. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and and to think that at one point the victim had an opportunity to get out of the house if they
Mm-hmm.
were working, or had something outside that they were doing, but now they're stuck in the house with the abuser all day long.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly if they were not essential workers and didn't have to be out there, particularly with the first lockdown. Can you
Right.
imagine at the beginning of this pandemic?
No.
And it
Mm.
was every week we was hearing something about domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes 2 and 3 times a day, different cases, not the same case.
Mm-hmm.
But what bothered me and hurt me was that you heard or saw no resources that were being spoke of behind those stories of domestic abuse and domestic violence, even to the point to where it was domestic violence. I mean, murder suicides.
Mm-hmm.
Just horrendous.
It is. And that's a very good point that you brought out. We were providing resources for a lot of things, but not the domestic
Mm-hmm.
violence. I
Exactly.
also heard as well how the numbers were increasing for domestic violence due to the pandemic. Because, like
Mm,
as you said, work was your outlet. Going to
exactly.
the store, you had 8 hours away, and then travel time and run to the grocery store or pick up the children, whatever that time span was away. So the
Mm-hmm.
amount of time in the home was reduced. And then, wow, I cannot imagine. I want to kind of get back. You had mentioned something about people say just leave, and how it's not just that simple, and it's an onion. And I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine on yesterday, and he was just kind of sharing some things he had gone through. And I said, well, why didn't you try to leave? Why didn't you try to, I mean, you saw all the signs. Why not then make that step? And he said it wasn't that easy. I can't
Mm-hmm.
just get up and just do that. And then you came back today and you're saying the same thing. It's just not that easy.
It's not that easy. You first off, you have, say for instance, I'm glad you mentioned a man.
Mm-hmm.
You have a father, a husband, a provider. He loves his children.
Mm-hmm.
You will hear stories all the time. I stayed because of my children. I stayed
Mm-hmm.
because of my children.
Mm-hmm.
And you will have a man. Now, think about how vulnerable women feel letting somebody know, and shameful and guilt to let somebody know that they're being abused. Think about it for a man.
It's tough.
Who who is his brother that he's going to go to and say, man, my wife, my lady is abusing me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine that? And he can be a very popular person. He can be a very strong person in the community. He can even be a pastor in the church.
Mm-hmm.
Who is he going to share that to? And he
Mm-hmm.
can be a strapping, 6'2", 6'5", 260, 300-pound man. And the
Mm-hmm.
question would be, what? That can't be
Right.
happening to you. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And not only does it happen physically to men as well, but you will hear more often that it's verbal, mental, emotional
Mm-hmm.
abuse that they will endure, right?
Yes.
And if they have children involved and they're really, really trying to be this man to be the head of the household, take care of the children, and he has this demonic wife, then how does he process it first
Mm-hmm.
mentally,
Mm-hmm.
and then in his heart space, and then looking at his children.
Mhm.
So what does he do? Just
Right.
try to ride it out, right? Just
Mhm.
try to ride it out in hopes that it's going to get better. But
Mhm.
here is the key: it doesn't get better, it gets worse.
That's so true. Because
It doesn't
I
get
was
better,
telling. Mhm.
it gets worse. And here is why:
Mhm.
because that spirit tests you to
Mhm.
see just how much it can get away with.
Oh.
Yes. And
Mhm.
each test that it gets away with, it
Mhm.
takes the abuse or the violence up a notch.
Mhm.
So here you are in this scenario where you have a family unit and you're
Mhm.
trying to hold it together,
Mhm.
but at the same time, you're screaming in your head, I need to get out of here.
Mhm.
So your head and your heart space are in two different places.
Yes.
And what happens is that you have to make a conscious decision and not an emotional one.
Mhm.
Because emotions are like a roller coaster. You know, they're
Yes.
up, they're down, they're round and round. They do all kinds of things. So, in
Mhm.
order to make a move regarding this and that you're going to change it, you must make a conscious decision. Whether that's taking the children with you
Mhm.
and leaving.
Mhm.
And here is the other thing: a lot of people feel like there's nowhere to go, there's no help. Well, we know
Mhm.
right now, everything is just a mess, really. It's really
Yeah.
just a mess. But if you ask, the resources are there for you.
Mhm.
If you call any police officer to your home regarding domestic abuse and domestic violence, they are mandated to have resources to offer to you, whether you're male
Mhm.
or female.
Mhm.
Now, sometimes you
Mhm.
have crisis situations where all you can do is get up and run, leave.
Mm. Right.
You may not be able to even grab the children. You just need to go.
Mhm.
But 9 times out of 10, with a mother, she's going to grab her babies first
You know
and
that.
run with the babies. She's going to
Yeah.
grab those babies.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
sometimes you have to do that
Mhm.
to not only save your life, but to save your children's life.
Yes.
Because we've
Mhm.
seen where the murder suicides will take out an entire family. And then you find out,
Mhm.
domestic abuse and domestic violence was the root.
Mhm.
Now, here's
Yes.
another thing regarding the children, staying in it for the children. Well, as long as the
Mhm.
children are exposed to it, you're setting them up to either become an abuser or be subjected to being abused because they don't want to be that person.
Mhm. That's true.
So it's not good to stay for the children.
No, it's not.
No,
Mm-mm.
because they're damaged. And then
Mhm.
if they have seen this type of interaction from their early years, during their formative years, then they'll think this behavior is natural. This is
Mhm.
normal. This is what you do. So this distorts their understanding of what love looks like, right?
Yes.
Think about
It
that.
does. It does. I want to read
Yes.
this comment that came through. Lisa put, these demons of abuse are very personal. They are tapping
Mm-hmm.
into the most intimate weaknesses you have. Low
Mm-hmm.
self-esteem, fear of loss, financial insecurities, unforgiveness, and jealousy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, I tell women that men are information seekers, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Women, you need to keep your mouth shut. And let me tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Well, sister, what type of man you like? And you give him a laundry list. One,
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, okay, I can play this role.
Mhm.
Okay, I can play this role. Okay, I
Mhm.
can play this role.
Mhm.
Now, I need you to understand she, the she demon, her characteristics are the same. She does the same
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
Well, I can play this role. I can
Mhm.
play this. And I
Mhm.
can play that
Mhm.
until I get you emotionally hooked to me.
Mhm.
And once you become emotionally involved with people, you do not make good, conscious decisions
Yes. Mhm.
because your emotions are involved.
Yes.
Also, back to that comment that was made. That's why it's
Mhm.
so important for you to work on yourself and get healing for your own issues.
Mhm.
Everybody's stuff is personal. It's very personal. And if you had had some type of traumas that you dealt with early in your life, in your youth, however, you need to be healed from those places
Yes.
because this spirit does recognize that there
Mhm.
is something longing in
Mhm.
you or
Yes.
missing in you.
Mhm.
And when it taps into that, it
Mhm.
works on building you up to feel like they're going to secure that space for you, but that's their information to tear that down in you even the
Mm.
more,
Mhm.
even the more. And
Yes.
I have a little statement that the Holy Spirit gave me one day. Your
Mhm.
light will illuminate the insecurities in others.
Ah, say it again. Say it one more time. That was good.
Your light
Mhm.
will illuminate the insecurities in others.
Yes. That's true.
So understand
Mhm.
that if you're the light and they're the darkness, they have to show themselves eventually. They can't continue to hide and play these roles that they've written
Mhm.
down. They can't
Right.
continue to play them
Mhm.
because their truth will have to come forth because your
Yes.
light will bring the darkness forth
Mhm.
of them.
Yes.
And then sometimes by the time you see it, it can
Mhm.
be almost too late and it can take your life.
Yes. And I had one person on here that said she had to make a plan in order to get out, and she's free. Um, and just kind of piggyback on that, I know a different young lady had sent me a message, and she went back to her abuser,
Yes.
and hence, since then has now left again,
Yes.
and now going through the process of trying to find a place, and all the other different
Mm-hmm.
steps. Um, what would cause a person to go back to the abuser?
They think they love them.
Mm-hmm.
Love does not fix this. No matter what you do, will fix
Mm-hmm.
this because it's not your
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Right.
You can't fix their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, statistics show that it takes sometimes 7 to 10 times attempting to leave before some people are successful. Think about that.
Wow. Wow.
It's like a rubber band. You stretch the
Mm-hmm.
rubber band, it snaps back on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's your own rubber band of torture.
Mm-hmm.
But it also shows that you aren't at a place yet where you understand that you do not deserve to be treated this way. No
Mm-hmm.
one deserves to be abused. But I
That's
want
right.
to put a pin right there and go back to the plan to leave. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you need to work a plan.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get your documentation in place. You
Mm-hmm.
need to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to remain in the state or city of where your abuser are, or
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to strike out and go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times, you may run to a friend's house, you may run to a family member's house, and guess who knocks on the door? Because they know where you're going.
They know where you're going. Mm-hmm.
They know where you're going. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to make a plan
Mm-hmm.
that they don't feel like you're a mate.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
that means you can't play checkers. You need to be playing chess.
Gotta play chess.
You got to play chess. Okay,
Yes.
you got to
Yes.
play chess. So
Mm-hmm.
um, in making that plan, you have to think about, and I always think about children. If
Mm-hmm.
it's just a single woman and a guy, then you can pretty much go anywhere you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you're a well-established businesswoman? What if you're a dentist? What if you're a doctor? What if you're a lawyer?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to just uproot their business? You can't
Yep.
just do that. You've
Mm-mm.
had years of establishing your business,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to make it clear that if you make this decision that you're going to leave them and leave them alone, you have to do it because you have so much more to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
even more so than that, it can cost you your life again, which is
It
everything.
can. It can. We have a question here in the comments. Elise said, how do people move or victims move past family members who are close to the abuser? They may have to be alone their process. I don't get that last part.
Okay, let
But how do
me
you
let me
move?
see if I understand this first question. How do people move past family members who are close to the abuser? I
Mm-hmm.
want to I want to see if I can turn that question around
Mm-hmm.
and ask it a different way. Are you asking about family members who have been bamboozled by the abuser to stay in place to manipulate you? So let's answer it from that. This is what happens with abusers. They can come across very charming, very sweet,
Mm-hmm.
very involved in your world. And this is to be able to manipulate family members into thinking that you're the one that's the problem. You're the one that's crazy and not them. And I think this may be what they're asking.
Mm-hmm.
But here is what you have to do. Understand this. Family are just people too.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't let a stranger out on the street mistreat you or treat you badly. So if you have family members who are condoning the abuser to continue to be around you, then you have the right to say no. You separate yourself from them. And until they come to a place to understand what your boundaries are, this is when you have to set up boundaries for people
Mm-hmm.
to understand what it is you will and you will not accept. And I hope
Oh.
that was the question that they were asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she said, yes, when a person is attempting to escape an abusive situation, the abuser charms the family to find the location.
Again, you have to
Mm-hmm.
make a conscious decision from your
Yes.
family members. Keep your mouth shut and do what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. That's
You
true.
can't tell. I mean, in this situation, the Bible tells you there is a time when you can't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes family members are the worst to let know what you're trying to do in a plan.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's
So, in
true.
those
Very good point.
situations, if you're going to make an escape plan, you need to make an escape plan with you, with me, myself, and I. That's who you need to make it with.
Mm-hmm.
Me, myself, and I.
Yep.
Because
And
it's your
keep
survival
going.
that you're working for.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So back to the gentleman I was speaking with yesterday. He was kind of sharing, a situation he had gone through and just how traumatic it was, and the young lady he was involved with, and it was just tough, and trying to make a way, and but in between he saw signs. So now of course it's over now, but he said this happened, and that was a signal. He said that's when I should have left. And then he said, okay, well, this happened. Yeah, and I should have seen that. He said just one thing led to another, and intertwined with home, intertwined with church, and with ministry, working in the ministry. It was like a tangled weed. It was it was a mess. Um,
Check this out. This is
mhm.
my flag. This is my red flag. It's my
Yes.
napkin, but it's my red flag.
Mhm.
They're always waving.
Yes.
They're always waving.
Mhm.
And you know what we do? We
Mhm.
explain them away.
Mhm.
Everyone wants to be in a relationship. Excuse me. Okay, here we
Mhm.
go. Excuse me.
Mhm.
Everyone wants to be in a relationship. Everyone wants to feel loved.
Mhm.
So what we'll do is discount that first red flag
Red flag.
and say, oh, we can get
Mhm.
past that.
Mhm.
Remember I said earlier that the enemy that you can get away with. You're in a
Say it
test.
again. It kind of froze a little. Would you repeat that part again?
The enemy
Mhm.
always has you in a test to see how much it can get away with.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
If you explain away the first red flag, then they're like, oh, okay, let me take this up a notch.
Mhm.
Let me see what else I can get away with.
Exactly.
Oh, well, let me take this up a notch. Let me
Mhm.
see just how much more I can get away with.
Mhm.
And we've got to understand what they are when we see them. When someone show
Yeah.
you who they are, believe them.
Believe them. Believe them.
Believe them. I used to be the Bible tells you to always be in a spirit of reconciliation, but it doesn't have an underline there saying to allow them back into your personal space.
Right. That's right. We do not.
And reconciliation doesn't mean that you have to personally interact with them again.
Right. That's right. Mhm.
You can reconcile with your heart,
Mhm.
forgive them, and move on.
And move on. Exactly.
And move on
Uh.
because
Mm,
it's only going to be your detriment.
mhm. Janie, I would like for you
You
to
will
read
be
that
the
poem.
one suffering.
Mhm.
Ah, okay. My pleasure.
Yes. Janie has a poem.
Tears, but it doesn't hurt now.
Mhm.
And this is in my book, The Metamorphosis of a Caterpillar. All butterflies aren't free.
Mm-hmm.
As tears flow far past hurts, disappointments, it doesn't hurt now. Unachieved goals, setbacks, regrets, and rejections, but it doesn't hurt now. Failed relationships, friends as foes, deceivers with deception, but it doesn't hurt now. Abuse, bullying, self sabotage, and mistakes, but it doesn't hurt now. Tears you thought were gone forever, but resurfaced through growth and self awareness and self knowledge, but it doesn't hurt now. Tears are flowing, but it doesn't hurt now.
Oh, that was
Thank
good.
you.
Oh, thank you for
Thank you.
sharing that. Tears are flowing, but it doesn't hurt now.
Doesn't hurt
Wow.
now.
And yeah, and that's the place where, we all desire to get to. That's the place of healing, where you're walking in it. You
Absolutely.
can you can look back and say, I came through. I got through that. Thank God.
Absolutely.
And you can have that though that trial, those moments, and the trauma. You name the different types of things that would keep us silent. The suffering that we would have in silence.
Hmm.
But then, now looking back, I'm able to help others to come from their
Absolutely.
silence and help them through their trauma, their trial, their tribulation, and look back on it. Oh, I love that poem.
Thank you. Thank
Very,
you.
very
And you know,
timely.
and you know the beauty of coming through it. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we may even ask God, why am I going through this? This just not fair. Why am I going through this? It wasn't about you in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly if He has placed an assignment on your life.
Yes.
Because Dr. LaShawn, at the time that I was going through this situation, I was the primary domestic violence instructor for a local police department. And it
Mm-hmm.
happened to me.
Wow.
So how did it happen to me? And I was teaching people how to identify it. It can happen to
Wow.
anybody. That's the reason why
Wow.
no one should be in shame or guilt about it, because it can happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And the reason I had to write my book, I thought it was about that relationship. But when I sat
Mm-hmm.
down to write my book, God took me back to when I was 2 years old to show me when the door was opened in my life, how it came into my life.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, showing me again the spiritual
Mm-hmm.
connecting, the spiritual connection to how this demon works.
Mm-hmm.
Generational
Yeah.
curses.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And also that other piece you brought out where that spirit of look for the insecurities and
Mm-hmm.
the way places and the hidden things that haven't been dealt with, or the things we sweep under the carpet, or you know those things. And it comes and it'll just snap at it just a little bit. Just
Yes.
I'm like, wow, just like that. But definitely our purpose is found in the trauma, coming through, and that's to help others. That's the sunny side of it, finding your purpose within it. Janie, you frozen?
I can hear you now.
Oh,
No, it
okay,
went black.
okay.
It
It
went
went, it
black.
froze
It
a
just
little
went
bit.
black.
Okay.
It went black. Both screens went black. So I'm like, okay, I'll just sit here and wait.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. I know the connection would do that sometimes, but
Yes. Yes,
but
it's okay.
definitely, I was just saying that when you finding your purpose through coming through the trauma, you now have found your
Hmm.
purpose and able to help
Absolutely.
others, and that's definitely the blessing to help bring
Absolutely.
others through.
And that is my life purpose. I will host workshops for anyone who will listen to understand that I get it. I totally get it. I get it on all levels. Trust me. From seeing how it manifested itself early in my life and denying it for so many years because my dad was the one who was abused.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was a journey of hoping to fix broken men, but I
Mm.
can't fix their stuff. I have to fix my own stuff because I had been traumatized myself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not to put any damper on my mom because when we left, when she left, we were fine. Everything was
Mm-hmm.
fine. But we need to acknowledge the trauma that occurs in our lives that set us up for these type of elusive supposed love relationships, because in any abusive relationship love does not exist.
Right.
Because if you look up the definition of love
Mm-hmm.
and you look up the definition of what an abuser looks like or
Mm-hmm.
domestic violence look like, it has nothing to do with love. Absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you have these people who are coming into these relationships. No two halves does a whole make, especially when they're broken. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't come in 100% healed of yourself and they 100% healed of themselves, excuse me, then what do you have? Turmoil.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you need to address those traumas in your life. You need to address those exposures that have distorted your mindset
Mm-hmm.
about what relationships are supposed to look like.
How does one accomplish that where your mindset has been formed, whether it's uh, dealing with the abuse while growing up as a child or then into an adult? Um, I know I helped a young lady publish her book, and her book was about domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked about having domestic violence in her home as a child, and then all her
Mm-hmm.
relationships after that were of domestic violence. Um, it's like your mind is kind of formed to that. How do you then change your mindset? How does one go about
You
doing
have
that?
to you have to go within. You have to go within. Um, as I was mentioning to you about back and really look at that I had been denying. I had to
Mm-hmm.
go back and look at when this demonic spirit uh, came through the door in my life, through the
Mm-hmm.
generations in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
when I did that, I had to go back and get the help to heal. Now,
Okay.
can it be painful? Yes, it can be
Mm-hmm.
painful. Uh, but can you begin the healing process? Yes, once you acknowledge the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a hard truth? Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But you must go back and heal that, because you know what it is? It's just a scab on top of an old sore.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And underneath there, that infestation, that infection
Mm-hmm.
is affecting everything in your life.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
until you go to the core, to your
Mm-hmm.
spirit man,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
restore it,
Mm-hmm.
restore your spirit,
Mm-hmm.
you will be subject to open yourself up for those relationships for the rest of your life, because it's broken, it's not
Yes.
fixed.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use the analogy of a lion that has a gun in its paw and you're trying to help
Mm-hmm.
it. What is it going to do? It thinks you're going to try to hurt it, but you're trying to help
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
Although it's painful to the lion, it's distorted in his mindset that you're there to make the hurt even more.
Mhm.
And that's what happened to people. They say that hurt people hurt people. No, hurt people choose to hurt other people
Mhm.
because you can make a choice not to be that. You can make a choice. But in order for you to make that choice, you got to first make a choice to heal yourself so you will never have the desire to want to hurt anybody. Because,
Yeah.
especially if you know what that feels like, why would you want to
Mhm.
inflict that on someone else?
Right. Exactly.
So it's
We have
important
a
to get therapy, counseling,
mhm.
coaching, whatever it is you need to go within and learn from within why you are this way. Because domestic abuse and domestic violence is about power and control. It's not about anger. It's not about insecurity. It's about power and control. What situation did you have forced or placed upon you where you felt like you had no power and control at some point in your life?
Mhm. Yes.
That's it.
We had this question to come in. What do women do when the help is a pastor who instructs them to stay in an abusive relationship? So many women in the church, from first ladies, we talked about the first ladies and the pastors, to the back door, are being told to stay.
Okay, I may get in trouble for this, but I don't care.
All right.
If you're under leadership, particularly a spiritual leader,
Mm-hmm.
you're a pastor, and he's
Mm-hmm.
telling you to stay in an abusive relationship, you need to run. A lot of times, what we find is that when you have a lot of victims of domestic violence in some of these congregations, it's because the leadership themselves are abusive.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So do you think that demon is going to tell you to leave that demonic partner of theirs?
Mm-mm.
And we have so many people who have sat in church on Sunday morning praying, Lord, give me a word on how to get out of this. Father God, help me. Help me some kind of way. Let me hear how I can fix this, how I can help this, how I can get out of this. You'll
Mm-hmm.
have to make a conscious decision. Pray, yes. Pray for guidance. Pray for wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Pray that God give you instructions.
Yes.
But there is nowhere in God's word where he told either man or woman to be abused.
That's right.
Now, if you're going to deal with the Bible, if you're going to deal with the church, if you're going to deal with pastors, there's nowhere in the Bible. And I know enough to know there's 66 books.
Come on.
Oh, God. There's nowhere in the Bible
Mm-hmm.
where God has told you to be subjected to being badly mistreated.
That's right.
I use Proverbs 4:23
Mm-hmm.
to guard your heart. That's one of my main scriptures.
Yes.
And the others, which I can't even quote right now, that I have
Mm-hmm.
always found controversial was the scriptures of where you are to submit to your husband.
Mm-hmm.
But they always seem to miss the one above there where it tells you to submit one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that is projected and the one that is spoken on is that you are to submit to your husband. How do you
Mm-hmm.
submit to a husband who is not providing, who is not protecting, who is
Mm-hmm.
whoring, who is
Mm-hmm.
not taking care of you, period?
Right.
How do you
None of that.
submit to that?
Mm-hmm.
And that is not the definition of what a husband is supposed to be according to the Bible either.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
Dr. LaShawn, you taking me somewhere I don't like to go. I don't be liking to
I know.
touch on that church stuff.
I felt you say, "Oh, wait a minute." I felt you put your war clothes on. I got your back. I'm ready. I'm armed. Let's
Woo!
go.
Father God.
Let's go
Oh,
to battle. Wait a minute. Look, let me
woo,
take these glasses. Let's go. Come on. I'm
woo.
ready. How we do? Take our
I
shoes
have,
off and our earrings. Let's go.
okay.
We going to
I am
battle.
so, I'm so upset with the environments that have perpetrated
Mm-hmm.
this demonic spirit
Mm-hmm.
to run rampant
Yes.
under the guise of the Bible and the Holy Scripture.
That right there. Mm-hmm. Yes. Too often.
That
It has
that
happened.
is a lie. That is a
Mm-hmm.
lie. That is a lie. That is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
No one deserves to be abused.
No.
Absolutely no one.
No one. Mm-mm.
And
No.
anytime you have leadership that's supposed to be God fearing, tell
Mm-hmm.
you to stay in an abusive relationship, you need to run.
Run. Run. Got me get ready to jump.
Now,
Run.
okay, I heard I was at a summit one year,
Mm-hmm.
and the question was asked of this clergy,
Mm-hmm.
had they been around or affected by domestic abuse or domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
He proceeded to tell this story of
Mm-hmm.
how this woman came to him seeking help.
Mm-hmm.
And he told her, let's pray and you go back home.
Oh,
And I was livid.
I know you
I
were.
was livid. And
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to keep my composure because I was in an open environment and in
Mm-hmm.
a summit. I wanted to remain professional, but I couldn't help it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. How
Mm-hmm.
do you say you were not affected by domestic abuse or domestic violence when you had someone coming to you telling you up close and personal the details of what was happening to them, and you tell them to pray and go back home to that, and that didn't affect you?
Mm-hmm.
That didn't affect you? You see where I'm going with this? How do you listen to somebody tell you how badly they are being mistreated and it doesn't affect you, and you're a
Mm-hmm.
clergy?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're a demon. You're probably a light demon too.
I know you went there. I know you did. I know. I know.
But for me,
Mm-hmm.
my goal is not to be against the church, not to come against pastors, none of that. That is
Mm-mm.
not my purpose. My purpose
Mm-mm.
is to educate you in identifying what those red flags look like before you become emotionally attached to these demons.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Shameless plug. My book
Mm-hmm.
will show you what that stuff looks like.
Mm-hmm.
My book will also show you how God protected me when he allowed a demon to sit next to me every Sunday in church. And then God tells me, you passed the test, my daughter. I let the devil sit beside you every Sunday and he still couldn't touch you.
Wow.
Because I knew what those flags looked like.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before I even allowed this person into my personal space at all. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't know where I lived or anything. And see,
Mm-hmm.
this is the thing that people are rushed to do now. They think everything is supposed to be microwaved. No,
No. No.
no. You can't
No.
love anybody in 2 months. I had a young lady say to me yesterday, she's in a long distance relationship.
Mm-hmm.
She has not seen this guy in person yet.
Mm-mm.
She's only known him for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I think this is the one. I think he is my rest of the life guy. What? And I think you young people call that thirsty. Well, honey, you're an oasis out in the desert. Because, if you're saying after 2 months and you've had no real personal interaction with this person,
Mm-mm.
that this is the one that you want to marry and that's the one you think is the one for you for the rest of your life. Be serious, girl. This
Mm-hmm.
man is miles and miles away. You don't know
Mm-hmm.
what he's doing, who he's doing it with, nor does he know who you are and what you're doing and who you're doing it with. But then you're going to say that you're really ready to cast all of your pearls.
Mm-mm-mm.
2 months. two
No,
months.
I was just speaking. I have a group where, I empower and encourage. And we were talking about unconditional love. And
Mm.
was just saying, uh-oh, here, take a drink. and, and we were just, and I was just talking, we were just, deep diving into unconditional love. And I said, what happened to the days when we would, we would date, we would court,
Yes.
where you would
Yes.
take that time to get to know a person. That
Yes.
that's unheard of nowadays. You used to, you used to court a person, but now you say courting, and they're like, "What you talking about? What is courting? What's that mean?"
Excuse me. Now it's funny. It's funny that you use that word court. She said, "Cause he's
Mm-hmm.
courting me." I'm like, "Girl,
Mm-hmm.
stop."
Yeah, that's not going. No, that's not. He miles
That is
away.
not courting.
No, that's
He's
not
miles away.
courting.
That is not courting.
Mm-mm.
So here's the other thing too that I've found, Dr. LaShawn, is that
Mm-hmm.
the definitions have been torn up from the
Mm-hmm.
floor up.
Yeah.
A guy will take you out to lunch
Mm-hmm.
and you'll say, "We're dating." No, you're not.
Mm-mm.
You just had lunch, honey.
You just did a meal.
You just had a few moments across the table getting to know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That is not dating. But he took me to a restaurant and bought a steak. I don't care if he bought you lobster steak or scallops. I don't care what he bought you.
Shrimp. I know, right?
Oh, okay. That was just lunch, child.
That's just
Trust
that's
me.
just a
He
meal.
wasn't thinking about dating. He wasn't
No.
thinking about dating. He was gathering information. Okay? He was not thinking about dating. And then you have the poor little distorted view of understanding what dating is.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand what dating is now. Dating is the
No.
time that you learn who you're with
That's
and gather information.
yes.
You want to go because this man don't text you back, and that's another thing. I hate texting. You need to hear a person's voice. You need to hear their
Mm-hmm.
inflection. You need to hear their
Mm-hmm.
projection.
Mm-hmm.
Words mean a totally different thing from texting to hearing it spoken.
That's right. You better
And you
FaceTime
and you
too.
feel like, oh, face.
You better
And
do some
I
FaceTime in
had
there too now. I'm just saying.
oh, absolutely. Oh, so you can see
You gotta
some
see.
catfishing going on, right?
Okay.
Catfishing.
I
But
see a
I
lot when
mean,
I see.
you have people, okay? You just have a lot of people who are grasping, just wanting to grab something to say, I'm in a relationship. Relationships aren't easy.
Mm-mm.
Relationships aren't cookie cutter.
Come on now.
Relationships aren't a movie script.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Relationships are challenging. Sometimes you
Yes.
don't like yourself.
Come on. And my advice to people have been, you need to see a person in each season.
All
You
four
got to see him in
seasons.
each
Yeah.
season, because how I am in the winter, I'm a different person in the
Yes.
summer. Okay. In the summer,
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
gonna have on this turtleneck and sweater. I'm having on some different clothes. I'm gonna be looking for an island and
Okay.
some sand and some water. Okay,
Okay.
I know it's more to it than that, but I'm just saying you gotta see a
Absolutely.
person in 4 seasons, and not the two
Seasons.
same
Yes.
seasons, four
No.
different seasons. Okay, you gotta see them upset. How you gonna get it resolved? All of that.
You need to know if they uh, have conflict resolution skills.
There you go.
You need to know if they have um, a means of safe debating.
I like that.
You
Safe
you
debating.
definitely need to find out just how cray cray they are. And there's ways you can find out.
Mm-hmm.
It'll wave.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to
Yep.
pay attention to it when
Mm-hmm.
it does.
Yes.
Um,
It don't hurt to
you
throw
have
a test
somebody
or two
telling
out
you,
there.
oh, and it's not being malicious to do that. You need to
No,
test the waters. You know,
you got a test. I'm just
um,
saying.
test the spirit by the spirit,
Okay. You test drive that car,
and
right?
exactly, exactly. So people need to understand that you are a huge investment.
Mm-hmm.
You need to understand that you are a huge investment.
Yes.
Are you willing to deal with the dividend?
Oh, come on. That's good right there. Mm-hmm.
And until you understand that about yourself, you need to go sit
Mm-hmm.
down somewhere and
Huh.
work on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Amen. I was just saying this last week in my group, talking about unconditional love. We can talk about, how you supposed to love a person unconditionally, but we ourselves have to define what love is and what does it mean for us before.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to change the topic tonight, but definitely just kind of coincide with what you're saying
That's
there.
it's still relative though. It's
Mm-hmm.
relative.
Mm-hmm. This was really good. Um, Janie, my goodness, where did the time go?
I
Oh,
know, I
I
know.
enjoyed
We're
this.
past we're past an hour. Oh my
We
God.
have, but it was good. Suffering in silence. We definitely gave some
Silence.
very relevant information, some good tools, even some examples, and share some experiences. Got a chance to answer some questions that came up in the comments. um, Very well rounded. I really enjoyed this conversation. If you would be so kind to hold up your book again and allow people to see that, I'll be sure to tag you. Make sure you're tagged in this. All right. And say the title again. I can't read it all.
The metamorphosis of a caterpillar. All butterflies aren't free.
All butterflies aren't free. All right. Ooh. Mm. Ooh. This was good. This was good. Okay.
Thank
My,
you for
my, my.
having me. Thank you so much.
Most definitely. Did you have any, final remarks? Anything you wanted to share?
I want to say to your audience, to your guests, you are enough. You deserve to have someone love you for who you are. You deserve to have someone treat you as a queen or a king. You deserve love in its fullest form. Abuse is abuse is abuse. One of the cute little words they brought out last year, the last couple of years, has been a narcissist or narcissism. Abuse is abuse is abuse. An abuser is an abuser. I don't care what cute little words you put on it. If you are being mistreated by anyone who turns around and use the words, you know I love you, you need to step back and make a conscious decision because that is not love. Peace and blessings.
All right. Thank you so much, Janie. Definitely appreciate you
Thank
joining
you.
me this week. Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to
Thank
say
you.
thanks for everyone coming on and joining this week. We talked about suffering in silence. And wow, what a great guest speaker we had this week. And we definitely have another speaker lined up uh, for the next, and we'll be back in 2 weeks at 7 p.m. And we'll be sure to give the flyers and make sure that everyone is aware of the next time we are going live, which will be in 2 weeks. Thanks again. I am Dr. LaShawn, and thank you for joining Shifting Mindsets live show. God bless.